What if I told you that in today's world, stupidity isn't just tolerated, it's actively celebrated? That being loud, shallow, and proudly ignorant has somehow become the fastest track to fame, pervasive influence, and even decisive leadership. Think about it honestly. When was the last time deep thinking actually trended? When did genuine nuance go viral? We live in a culture where the most utterly meaningless personalities dominate the spotlight, where a 15-second clip generates more engagement than a thoughtful, intricate argument, and where millions flock to content that requires zero mental effort to understand and even less effort to question. This is not simply a cultural phase, it is a fundamental, systemic shift. We have created an environment where empty entertainment is disproportionately rewarded over intellectual substance, where clever memes replace logical, careful discourse, and where fast, flashy content is demonstrably more valuable than reflective, slow conversation. Once, public dialogue was a genuine space for debate, dissent, and the rigorous wrestling of complex ideas. Now, it is little more than a chaotic battlefield of slogans, knee-jerk reactions, and constant short-form distractions. We relentlessly scroll past profound philosophy to get to pranks. We skip critical expert insight to chase trending, mindless audio. And the true tragedy is, this isn't happening by accident. Popular culture no longer merely reflects our values, it actively, aggressively shapes them. The media we obsessively consume, the influencers we endlessly elevate, the content we consistently reward, all of it is teaching us something vital. That it is faster to be emotional than rational, that it is better to be likable than genuinely informed, and that it is dramatically more profitable to be shallow than to be serious. The algorithm doesn't care about truth. It cares only about attention. The result is a civilization trained not to think critically, but simply to react instantly, not to question the narrative, but only to consume the next distraction. And over time, that relentless consumption effectively rewires what we find meaningful, what we respect, and ultimately, who we choose to listen to. You might dismiss this as harmless. Start mistaking simple visibility for real value. The truth is profoundly unsettling. We live in a system that doesn't just tolerate stupidity, it monetizes it, promotes it, and glorifies it. And if we fail to recognize this devastating pattern, we will soon wake up in a world where thinking deeply is seen as a severe liability, not a core virtue, where intellectual life becomes a forgotten relic, and where the shallow don't just survive, they decisively win. But here's where things get much darker. Stupidity today isn't just tolerated or celebrated, it's meticulously, carefully crafted. We have entered an era where calculated ignorance is no longer a disadvantage, but a highly conscious, potent strategy. The ubiquitous rise of the dumb but rich persona is not an accident. It is a proven, highly repeatable formula. It is an intentional performance designed to appear relatable, completely harmless, and effortlessly entertaining. And the rewards are staggering. Millions of followers, lucrative sponsorships, and genuine power. In a world where attention is the one true currency, playing dumb has become a profound economic advantage. Look around you. The people getting the most airtime are rarely the most thoughtful. They are consistently the most outrageous. Controversy, not competence, drives clicks and views. Shock value effortlessly wins over substance every time. And behind the screens, there's a cold, chilling realization. Authenticity is far less valuable than immediate virality. Why spend agonizing years developing wisdom when you can effortlessly generate noise? Why offer genuine insight when exaggeration and spectacle perform demonstrably better? We have created a media environment where the smart thing to do is often to act stupid, and millions of aspirants are catching on and adapting. This tectonic shift has fueled a deeper, more dangerous cultural pathology: anti-intellectualism. We don't just ignore intellectuals, we actively, aggressively mistrust them. Experts are now casually labeled as elitist. Scientists are routinely mocked as out of touch. Thinkers are casually dismissed as irrelevant. The very people who
study. Why? Because truth requires effort. Lies are easy. And in a world addicted to instant dopamine hits, ease always wins the day. We have collectively built a machine that actively punishes complexity and relentlessly glorifies simplicity, no matter how fundamentally false or destructive that simplicity might be. We are not just collectively dumbing down, we are actively monetizing the performance of stupidity. And this performance is everywhere. Fabricated drama, manufactured personas, and fake lifestyles that effortlessly gain millions of followers by offering nothing but pure, unadulterated surface. Meanwhile, the genuine thinkers, the dedicated educators, the essential truth-tellers are buried beneath the noise. Too complex, too slow, too inconvenient for the relentless scroll. Ask yourself, when did we begin to reward people solely for knowing less? When did ignorance transform into a cultural anesthetic? The terrifying truth is that we've trained a generation to believe that it's not what you know that matters. It's how entertaining your ignorance looks online. And once that corrosive belief takes hold, once stupidity becomes a brand, a profitable business, and a badge of honor, there is absolutely no incentive left to seek truth, only to relentlessly seek attention. But let's go even deeper. Why is genuinely shallow content not just surviving, but powerfully thriving? Why does it feel easier, almost irresistible, to scroll past the complex and dive headfirst into the silly, the sensational, the stupid? The answer isn't just cultural, it is profoundly psychological. In a world that feels increasingly overwhelming and chaotic, with uncertain economies, radically shifting identities, and complex global crises we barely grasp, simplicity offers something we are all quietly craving: control. Life today is an emotional, informational storm, and in that storm of profound confusion, the simple becomes overwhelmingly seductive. A shallow post that effortlessly confirms what we already believe. A mindless joke that conveniently lets us avoid uncomfortable truths. A 10-second video that demands absolutely nothing from us. No thinking, no effort, just instant, soothing relief. The shallower the content, the more it gives us the powerful, our vital appetite for anything that requires genuine, sustained thinking. Humor becomes our primary armor. We joke about everything: politics, health, even existential dread. Not because it's genuinely funny, but because it is infinitely easier than facing the terrifying weight of it all. Irony becomes our default shield. Sarcasm becomes our primary currency. And real depth, that becomes a psychological burden we are simply too tired to carry. It's not that people don't care, it's that they are profoundly exhausted. And the shallow stuff? It's fast, it's fun, and, most importantly, it doesn't hurt. And let's not ignore the biology. Shallow content hits the brain exactly like fast food: quick, salty, and immediately addictive. Every like, every swipe, every notification pumps a shot of dopamine into our system. It rewards us instantly. No patience is required, no delayed gratification, just the immediate rapid hit. And just like junk food, the more we compulsively consume it, the more we crave it, and the exponentially harder it becomes to return to anything genuinely nourishing. A 3,000-word essay feels like climbing a mountain.
A thoughtful documentary feels like tedious homework, and the algorithm knows this core weakness. So, it keeps feeding us what's easy, never what's truly right. So here we are, a society seduced by blinding simplicity, dangerously addicted to immediacy, and mentally rewired to automatically avoid anything that requires focused effort. Not because we are lazy, but because the system has expertly taught us that shallow is safer, faster, and dramatically more pleasurable. And that might be the most dangerous lesson of all. But here's the part we rarely admit. This isn't just about individual choices. It is not that millions of people all spontaneously decided to collectively abandon depth. It's that the system was explicitly designed and engineered to reward the shallow. The platforms we utilize, the content we consume, the attention economy we desperately live in. None of this is neutral or accidental. The shallowness is not a glitch. It is the algorithm. Social media doesn't care about truth. It doesn't care about nuance. It cares about one metric: how long you stay on the app, and what keeps you compulsively scrolling.
Laureate. A drama-filled live stream always beats a patient documentary. A controversial tweet, no matter how false, spreads farther and faster than the truth ever could. Why? Because chaos is profitable, outrage is monetizable, and ignorance, when packaged correctly, is simply good business. The news media is no exception to this rule. Their model rewards speed over accuracy and spectacle over depth. Complex stories are instantly reduced to simplistic, alarming headlines. Nuance is flattened into binary, easily digestible conflict. And the personalities that rise to the top aren't the ones with the best ideas. They are the ones with the loudest, most confident voices. The ones who can package fear, blame, and false certainty into a 30-second soundbite. Because that is what reliably drives ratings. That is what successfully wins elections. And let's not forget, politics. Today's most successful politicians are not those who understand policy. They are those who master performance and branding. The more extreme the position, the more attention it receives. The more simplistic the message, the deeper it resonates. Governing has become profoundly secondary to branding. We no longer elect leaders, we elect content creators. And in that environment, anyone who dares to speak with nuance, with honesty, or with complexity is instantly drowned out by the noise. So, before we blame ourselves, we need to grasp the bigger, terrifying picture. We are living in a system that powerfully rewards the worst parts of our psychology, that feeds our impulses instead of our intellect, that ruthlessly profits from confusion, distraction, and division. The glorification of stupidity didn't happen in a vacuum. It was built, refined, and optimized for maximum engagement. And the deeper you look, the more clearly you realize this is not a glitch. It is the plan. So, what happens when a system rewards ignorance, punishes intellect, and trains an entire culture to crave simplicity over truth? The result isn't just a shallow internet feed. It is a lost generation, a society slowly, agonizingly losing its ethical and intellectual compass, because over time, what begins as a cultural trend inevitably becomes a civilizational crisis. History and ethics, the very disciplines that rigorously train the mind, are seen as irrelevant in a market obsessed only with speed and profit. We tell students to major in whatever makes money, not in what makes meaning. And then we wonder why they feel so lost and directionless. At the same time, those who rise to fame are often famous purely for being famous. No invention, no insight, just simple visibility. We idolize influencers who offer no vision beyond the next brand deal. We reward personalities who expertly exploit attention, not those who genuinely expand understanding. And in that profoundly inverted world, the truly thoughtful retreat
The philosophers, scientists, and deep thinkers become the silent minority, consistently ignored in the public square, utterly drowned out by the spectacle. The cultural microphone has been handed over to the least informed and the most confidently wrong. And here is the crushing cost. When wisdom disappears from the public conversation, so does our collective ability to solve real problems. Climate change, public health, political polarization. These are not just technical challenges. They are crises of thinking, crises that demand nuance, patience, and the capacity for uncomfortable truth. But how can a society respond wisely when it has spent decades rigorously training itself to reject wisdom, when facts are casually dismissed as bias, and complexity is instantly seen as manipulation? This is how societies lose their way, not in one catastrophic moment, but through 1,000 small, cumulative choices to reward ease over focused effort, noise over depth, and surface over substance. And one day you wake up and realize the people in charge don't actually understand the problems they're trying to solve. The citizens don't trust the few who do. And the institutions meant to guide us have been emptied of all meaning, because we stopped believing thinking mattered. And if we permit that to continue, the future won't be led by the best among us. It will be ruthlessly shaped by whoever shouts the loudest and sells the most addictive content. And yet, something else is stirring beneath the persistent noise. For all the chaos, not everyone is giving in. A quiet, determined resistance is building. It's not for survival.
They are recognizing that constant stimulation doesn't make life richer, it makes it emptier. And against all prevailing odds, long-form content is making a fierce comeback. Podcasts that run for hours, filled with nuance, silence, even constructive disagreement, are finding massive, loyal audiences. Honest, deep conversations with thinkers like Lex Fridman, Sam Harris, and Andrew Huberman are reaching millions. There is no flashy editing, no viral hooks, just people talking honestly, slowly, about things that profoundly matter. And people are listening, because maybe we are hungrier for depth than the system gives us credit for. Education, too, is quietly reinventing itself. While mainstream institutions chase marketable degrees and corporate partnerships, small colleges and independent programs are reviving the soul of genuine education. They are teaching philosophy, logic, and critical thinking. Students are reading Plato, Nietzsche, and Marcus Aurelius, not because it guarantees them a job offer, but because it fundamentally makes them human. Because, in a world dangerously addicted to distraction, learning how to think deeply is the ultimate radical act. Even the culture of self-help is evolving. The loudest influencers still preach quick fixes and dopamine hacks, but beneath that, a quieter, deeper wave is growing. People are journaling, practicing stoicism and meditating, not for productivity metrics, but for genuine clarity and meaning. They're not chasing viral success, they are chasing meaning. And they are finding it in ancient ideas, difficult books, and genuine, uncomfortable conversations. These are not revolutions with loud banners and aggressive slogans. They are revolutions of the mind, small, disciplined, and invisible to the algorithm. But make no mistake, they are happening. There are people waking up to the crippling cost of shallow living. People choosing silence over noise, reflection over reaction, and substance over spectacle. And while they may not dominate the headlines or trend on TikTok, they represent something infinitely more powerful than a moment. They represent a fundamental shift, a countercurrent, proof that not every uncomfortable, not emotionally, but intellectually. Because real growth doesn't happen inside echo chambers. It happens when you deliberately step outside them, when you let your deepest ideas be rigorously challenged, when you willingly trade certainty for active curiosity. Then it moves into your daily habits. Not dramatic changes, but small, intentional, conscious ones. Read a little longer than you normally would. Watch something that doesn't merely entertain you, but profoundly stretches you. Share something online, not because it's popular, but because it's true and necessary. Engage with ideas that require effort, that demand context, that simply cannot fit in a short caption. Choose what nourishes, not just what momentarily stimulates. Your mind, like your body, becomes what you consistently feed it. Next comes community. Find people who care deeply about meaning, not just memes. People who want to talk about what fundamentally matters, not just what's fleetingly trending. Seek out conversations that go deeper than simple opinions. Conversations that aggressively ask why. Build spaces, online or in person, where thinking is honored, where disagreement isn't feared, but genuinely welcomed, and where people are not afraid to honestly say, "I don't know," and truly mean it. And above all, your attitude matters. Don't pretend to be less intelligent to make others comfortable. Don't play dumb to get along, because the longer you fake it, the more likely you are to forget who you really are beneath the performance. The world doesn't need more empty smiles and performative ignorance. It needs people willing to be awake, people willing to risk being misunderstood in order to speak truth, people who still profoundly believe that depth matters, even when the world seems entirely allergic to it. So no, you're not here to wage war against the system with its own tools. You're here to live differently within it, to make different, conscious choices, to bravely carry the torch of thought in a time of radical distraction, to be a small, steady light in a world that keeps dimming itself down. Because culture doesn't change from